ChrisDaGoat, he has a podcast, yeah. ChrisDaGoat, it's called The Goat Man Show. He's a Capricorn hippie, banjo-loving hillbilly. He lives in Missouri. It's The Goat Man Show, yeah. Who is ChrisDaGoat? What is this podcast even about? All of these questions and more will not be addressed. Welcome to The Goat Man Show.
What is going on, everyone? You have stumbled across the Goat Man Show. This is ChrisDaGoat, and I'm a little ranty today. I'm going to talk about unity. We all have to work together, and I feel a lot of people can agree with that, in the sense that we have to understand each other and try to talk with one another and try to see, life through the other person's perspective and see what we can do to change that. Unless you're white, and then you're a Nazi or a racist, or unless you're a cis male or female, and then you're unprogressive, so then you're damaging. But we have to find that unity, guys. We have to find that togetherness. Um, can't do it alone. Absolutely not. We still have to find that way that we can all see each other as humans and not as, opponents or as lesser than, unless you're straight, uh, or unless you don't have anybody in your family who's trans, and then at that point you're harmful and xenophobic somehow, But we have to have that unity, guys. We have to be together. We have to hear each other cry, and we have to hear each other speak, and hear each other complain, and hear each other vent our grievances, unless you're middle class or a male, and then your opinion doesn't matter because you have everything that you could ever need for yourself, you know. But we need that unity, guys. We have to stay together. We have to continue to be one flowing machine against the man. Unless you're just sitting around and disagreeing with everything that the masses are saying, or you say that any city that's being burnt down is violent protesting, or God forbid a riot, you know, or if you support police, then you're just trash. Or if you don't go to a Black Lives Matter rally or a whatever Lives Matter or one specific type of rally, then you're just racist and have a phobia, But we all have to stick together, guys. And I don't know if you've really caught yet, which some of you may have. That's sarcasm. But the problem is that's exactly the mindset of the society around us. I mean, people want to get so upset that they will slander you, shut you down, accuse you of anything and everything, disgusting things, all in the name of trying to prove that they are right, or all in the name of trying to silence any opposition that heads their way, which is insane. We're not going to get into a whole lot of the Nazi stuff, but that's exactly uh, what the brown shirts did back in the early 30s before the war. Is you would create a new standard for society, and I'm not saying, I don't even know how to say it the best way. Let me use it in an example. I think that's probably the best way to go about this. Um, if you identify and acknowledge that there's 80 plus genders, and you demand that everybody around you acknowledge it, and you demand that everybody around you change their lives to benefit that idea, and you demand that everybody that you come in contact with changes their verbiage, changes their mindsets, their thinking, their entire life of being one way, all because it's going to offend you if they don't. I hate to break it to you, but it doesn't exactly work that way, and that's kind of where I think my biggest dilemma comes when we talk about um, not necessarily even transgender, but anybody who has specific pronouns that they want to go by, or anybody that feels because they don't feel comfortable as a biological male or female, that they're going to come up with another possibility on what they are, or another label, and then demand, that keyword here, demand, that the rest of the world comply with it. And you know, you have no right to do that. Now, if you're, I don't even want to put an age on it necessarily, but let's just use the hypocritical 18 years old. Okay, just until this year, 18-year-old to smoke, 18 years old to get a medical marijuana license without a parent, 18 years old to be a legal, full functioning adult, ready for adult trial in the United States. Okay, so being 18 is when you are considered, in the law's eyes, able to make independent decisions for yourself, and where your parents aren't going to be tied into it, or a guardian's not going to be tied into it. It's you. You're old enough at that point to make your own decisions. Okay, so anybody that's within that age demographic, 18 or above, I feel of course, depending on the mental deficiencies or different things that may be in play from person to person, I feel you do have the right to feel what makes you happy and to practice what makes you happy. Um, if that's you being a man and you want to wear a dress, I don't agree with it, but you do what makes you happy. If you're a man and you want to be a cuck, do what makes you happy. I'm not a cuck. I don't agree with, submission. Um, Again, do what makes you happy. If you're a man and you want to join a feminist movement and you want to submit to show them that men have been in control all these years, which is being a cuck and letting them run you over, and basically you're just being a bitch to the movement, by all means, you have the freedom to go off and do whatever it is you want, anywhere, anytime, as long as it's legal. It doesn't force anything else from you onto somebody else who doesn't see and is involuntarily getting exposed to that. So that's exactly where my problem is. Again, whatever it is that you want to be, you're welcome to do it. I have no problem with feminism. I have no problem with men treating women equally. I have no problem with, trying to advance certain things when it comes to um, the history on stuff that we know for sure that's been an issue. I have no problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is whenever, especially my generation, for fuck's sake, they are the stupidest sack of wet rocks I've ever seen in my entire life. They they just get on an idea, jump on a bandwagon. Their friends are doing it, so he either, he or she or whoever wants to get accepted. They want to feel like they're part of something. They want to get rid of all the anger and pain and hurt that they have because unfortunately a lot of their parents are shit that's let them get to this level anyway, because the parents are so worried about the phones and the popularity and the club and the bars and everything else that they're not paying attention to what the fuck the kid's doing. So whenever the kid joins in with all these friends and they're like, you know what? We need communism. We need Marxism. We need socialism. I don't think that you fucking people even understand what you're saying when you say that. I really don't. I truthfully, in my get of guts, feel that you are just following the leader so you don't feel alone. And self love is a very, very powerful beast, man. Self love is a very powerful beast. Um, if you learn to love yourself, and learn to do things that makes you feel good about yourself and makes you feel like you're a good person, you're not going to have that need to continue to follow in somebody else's footsteps. You're not going to have that need to continue to get acceptance from your peers or continue to try to make these what you call activist changes where it's really not doing anything. I think the root of it's self-love. And if you don't love yourself, how are you going to make any good with anything else? You're not going to be able to, because you're going to be miserable. You're going to want other people to feel that. You're not going to understand why all these other people have these successes and all these other people have these progressive attitudes, and you're still stuck in something that's different. So you're joining with other people that are how you feel in the same boat, and then you are creating so many different minority groups. Whenever we're talking about all the genders, talking about all the different whatever mindset beliefs that are out there. Again, I'm trying to be as respectful as possible to the things I don't understand, but of course most people, as they listen, oh god, a white male sitting here talking about cisgender males, this is fucking hilarious, this is blah 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 blah. I mean, if that's the mindset you have, you're a very dangerous person. If you feel that somebody doesn't have the right to speak their opinion and that yours is more important just because of the basics of a color of skin, a pigment problem, a pigment preference. Well, I can't even say preference because most of us don't have the choice. Some of us do. I got a lot of tattoos, so I like to say I got all kinds of different colors everywhere. Um, but the point I'm trying to make is, on all this, is you cannot force somebody outside of your mindset to comply with your mindset. Much like you are resisting the common, and I'm going to say the common way because it is, the common way of two genders, male and female. If you are resisting that and you are rejecting that that's natural or that's the way that it should go, whatever the case is, you can't turn around and try to force a different view on other people when you're rejecting the opinions of the vast majority in the world, you know? So I think where my problem comes in is indoctrination, propaganda. I see a lot of kid shows that talks about, queer kid shows, which this is where it's going to get fun for me, I think. I don't, I don't have a problem with whatever it is you want to do. I don't. Um, my primary job, I work with all different kinds. And when I say all different kinds, I'm talking all different races, all different sexual identifications, all different sexual preferences. I mean, I genuinely work in a melting pot business in the melting pot country of the world. So I guess for me, it's a little different because when I try to see the person, I try to see the person for who they are. What's your beliefs? What's your actions? What's your heart doing? What's your mindset? What do you believe about this issue or that issue? If I'm starting to have an issue, are you going to be there to support me? Can I trust you? Have you lied to me? There's many things that I take into account before I personally pass judgment on a person, and none of it includes just the color or a wig or a way they dress or tattoos in certain spots of the body or whatever the case may be. Um, and that took a lot of dedication to get to where I was to where I am now, and that's because the news has continued to provide division from years and years of me watching it. It's always been division. It's always been left and right, and it never was as blatant as it is now. It's absolutely out of control now. I mean, they want cities burning. They want us to not be able to trust each other. They want the left to hate the right. But we're all humans. We're all fucking humans, and we all have to be in this together, or we're not going to make the changes. So the only thing we're doing by feeding into the racist agenda in general, the only idea we're doing by continuing to give racist and light and life is continuing to work on an age-old issue that, in my opinion, should be abolished to the extent that we need to understand when people are trying to be racist, it's not to the extent of what it was, in the aspect of, oh, blacks and whites can't share the same restaurant, the same water fountain, the same bus, the same school. I mean, when you do look at the issues we have had before, we are making leaps and bounds, and we have maintained those. But we can't just lose that progress because the media simply comes out and say, oh, whites and blacks are at it again. We've lost all of our years of liberty and peace and humanity and talks and understanding. How can that just go away? How can that just up and vanish one day? We've gone through these things. We've talked about these things. We've seen the impact of these things. I don't see how all of a sudden, we can be taking all these many steps backwards. How are us, the people, letting it happen? Because you're just sitting there and cucking all over the TV and allowing it to tell you what to feel, what to think, not doing any research whatsoever for yourself, not listening to other people that claim to be doing research for themselves. So many people just sit. You're going to get entertained by my Twitter, by some of the funny stuff, the off the wall shit, or on Parlor, or on Instagram, which they are all at the Goatman Show. In case you're interested in following me on any social media, Parlor, Instagram, as well as anchor.fm/ the Goatman Show. And then I'm also on YouTube at ChrisDaGoat. So whatever way you want to listen to the media, it's out there. But anyway, you know, you have to do that research and find out what other people are talking about. I do this for fun. It is a good therapy for me to be able to stare at my dog that's laying on my bed, talking to him so I don't feel like I'm crazy, and just getting the stuff off my chest that I have to. I'm a pretty antisocial person. I try very hard to keep that recharged. I do work a primary job to where it takes a significant amount of customer service. It takes a lot of ability as far as dealing with customer issues, getting involved in all kinds of different scenarios and situations, and so on and so forth. So, even though I like to pride myself on the fact that I have opened up a lot over the years, there is still a huge part of me that wants to be antisocial. So, starting a podcast for me is more of a tool to where I can express and channel my passion. Um, I like to think that, I'm not the dumbest some bitch I've ever met. I'm also nowhere near the smartest some bitch I've ever met. But I have had a keen ability in my life to be able to word things in such a way that it makes people a little upset with me. So whenever people get a little upset with me, they start to do a little bit of research. And then before you know it, it comes out that maybe I'm not so crazy. Or maybe, somebody that has seen something one way, maybe they're wrong and it's actually supposed to be another way. Um, we do have these possibilities. We most certainly have these possibilities. And uh, I think that I have, a way to look at life that's a little different than everywhere else because I don't listen to the TV. I don't listen to the radio. I do my own research when it comes to, media or news or politics or voting or anything with the 2020 stuff. I do my own research and I go through and I'll take the time and I'll go and I'll verify these things because that's the only way I'm going to know the truth. I want to see those documents firsthand. I want to see those affidavits. I want to see everything. And I want to continue to work on educating people in the sense that I can give them a way to think about things they may not have thought before. And it's going to piss a lot of you off. It's going to make a lot of you happy. I'm going to have a lot of mixed reviews in the random content with things anyway. But when I do say these things, like, you don't have the right to force your gender down my throat and demand that I respect you or how you see as respect by acknowledging all these things you demand that I do. That's going to make a lot of you upset. But a lot of times, I think some of you may think of that and be like, that's kind of fair. If I don't feel comfortable calling them, sir, if it's a man, or ma'am, if it's a woman, or whatever it is, if you don't feel comfortable with the cisgender, how can you expect somebody that's cis to be comfortable doing what you want? I mean, it's all negotiation. And that goes back to the very first thing that I had discussed in the episode. This whole first part is unity, but not fucking sarcasm. No double standards. I mean, if you're going to tell me that we have to be together, stop accusing every white person of being a Nazi. Stop accusing every straight person of being transphobic or being just intolerant of gays or the gay lifestyle or people who are bisexual or any other preference anyway. Quit assuming these things. Quit pushing those agendas because all you're doing without getting to know somebody is continuing to push false narratives and cause issues and cause division. I mean this with complete love and respect to all of you. On any side of the fence, whoever you are, whatever you are, however much hate you have for somebody else, we're all human and we're not perfect. And I'm not saying for a second that I'm any better than anybody else because I can come up with 10 things right here and now that I guarantee are worse than what you've done. From kicking in doors for drug money to being being somebody that took care of business whenever business needed handled in my younger days. I have been through some things. So I'm here to tell you that we can be better, but we cannot live a double standard. If we truly want to see the world burn, we can make it burn. If we truly want to see the world heal, we can start those steps. But listening to your TV and listening to me being the enemy because I'm white, and you being the enemy because you're black, or them being the enemy because they're illegal, however it is you want to put the spin on it, the way the media puts, it's a toxic mindset. We're human. We are human. We are human below elitist control. And the elitists are nothing like us. We are human beings. We have gotten stimulus checks. We've had kids, grandkids, cousins, nephews, nieces, whatever, all around us. We've had trips to the store. We've had to suffer, lost our jobs. We've had turmoil. We've had vehicles break down. We've lived life. We've lived average life to where shit happens to us so we can understand the struggle of another human being. Once you get to an elitist role, guys, they're in it for the power and the control and the manipulation. They're no longer in it for the same things you and me are in it for. They're no longer in it for taking care of other Americans or other humans. They're just not. So the first part of today, I want to leave with you on the sarcasm of the first part. Look at me as an equal to you. I look at all of you as an equal to me. We have to get this race baiting mindset out of our existence because that's what they use to control us the most. It's all about control, guys. And we're not going to make any progress if every time we look at one another, a white man or a black man or vice versa, whatever colors to substitute, if we look at each other and we say, man, I can't trust you. Man, I can't trust you because of what the TV said. I don't want to be around you. You're a dirty person. You're less than me. You're this or that, which is effectively what the media is doing a very good job of portraying to us. Um, that's going to be where we cause the issue because we no longer want to be supportive of one another, no longer want to take care of one another. We just want to push the narratives of the elite. So while they're keeping us separated, they can continue to put wedges in between us so that way the gap gets wider and wider. Before you know it, guys, we're not going to be in the same restaurants. We're not going to be at the same water fountains. We're going to take so many steps backwards that it's going to be something unlike anything we have ever come across in our entire lives. It's going to be worse than it was back whenever Rosa Parks was able to stand up for injustice and equality. It's going to be like those times, and it may even be worse. And I pray to God, I do. I pray to God that things are going to get better, but it's going to take all of us to pull our heads out of our asses, or we're going to continue to see a world in which we have never imagined. We're going to have a new Nazi Germany. We are going to have a new segregation law. We're going to have a whole new universe that we live in that is counterproductive to where we're at right this day, right this second, and getting worse. So, guys, please think on that. I can't change everybody's mind. I probably can't change anybody's mind. But, if you're going to demand anything of your fellow human, if you're going to look them in the eyes and say, you have to do this for me, be damn sure you're willing to give them something back. This is a respect deal. I'll help you if you help me. But if you're going to sit here and call me everything under the sun and expect me to submit and be your friend, you can go fuck a flying squirrel. All right, cats, kittens, we'll be back here shortly after the break.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break to digest whatever that was.
What's up, kids? You are still listening to ChrisDaGoat. This is just a semi-commercial, for myself. So, just to let you guys know, anchor.fm/thegoatman show is the main page you can get a hold of me. You can either download the app at Anchor, or you can just go to the website, send me a voice message, whether it be love mail, hate mail, a question, or a response to one of our social media posts. I can listen to it personally, react to it, and play it in a future episode, which I really want to do. I think it would be really engaging to have you guys involved. Also, keep in mind we are on social media. If you're on Parler, Instagram, or Twitter, we are at The Goatman Show. You can send us a message on any of those, and you can communicate with us, send us memes, any kind of information, or you can request to get on the show and get information on how to do so. Thank you all so much for listening to the show. I'm going to bounce back in so we can listen to me ramble more. Do check us out on social media if you feel so inclined, because the Goatman loves new friends. Blah, blah.
And we're back. Chris is done headbutting his studio wall to establish his dominance.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is ChrisDaGoat, and you are listening to The Goatman Show. So, I want to continue on the upbeat, positive vibes that we've started so far. And really, I want to continue on about true unity and self-love, because those two really do play a huge role in one another's success. So you as an individual are not going to be able to be made happy by somebody else. There may be somebody else that amplifies your happiness, and there may be somebody else who you enjoy spending time with, or you have a good chemistry together, or whatever the case may be, but that person doesn't make you happy. Somebody only amplifies your happiness, or only amplifies your sadness, or amplifies anxiety or stress, or whichever the case may be. And you as an individual are a free floating celestial being. And in my opinion, we're each kind of like our own garden, in the sense that we have the power to control if we're going to go in a successful manner or an unsuccessful manner. So we surround ourselves with people that make us feel a certain way, or make us appreciate a certain thing, or feel the same things that we feel, or whatever the case may ultimately be. Um, but that's not going to always be the case for a lot of people because they have self worth issues, or maybe somebody has talked down to them in the past, or they've gone through a trauma of some sort, family member, or a relationship, or whatever the case may be. So I feel that they're going to try to find other means of acceptance, which is a lot of the political movements that we're seeing right now, especially when I've talked about woke culture and things like that. Um, they're going to try to grasp anything that gives them a sense of purpose, a sense of greater good. And even if it's not something that they totally agree with, it's something they're going to pretend that they agree with. So that way they can have some sort of sense of accomplishment. And it's really sad because people, they don't love themselves, so they hate other people to make themselves feel better about themselves. So really you're not fixing the problem, you're just kind of, what you think you're doing is, patching it along until later on down the road. So the biggest contingency uh, in between the two of, unity and self-love is, a lot of the movement right now is, LGBTQ, and I'm not sure, you know, if they understand, um, by you saying cisgendered anything or anything, which, I don't know much more terminology than that at all. But basically, from my grasp of a cisgender, male or female is a heterosexual straight, what we would consider quote unquote normal, cut of the cloth, average way of society thinking. Because in the grand scheme of things, the LGBTQ world is a minute fraction of what the whole society is built up as, which overwhelmingly is straight heterosexual. So there's going to be a lot of people who, for example, may feel that because they don't align with something that they've been taught, or maybe their parents don't believe in one thing or another thing, whatever the case may be, or they're influenced for one thing or another thing, whatever the case may be. Um, there's a good chance that they're going to feel out of place, and they're going to feel like they need to join something. And a lot of times when people are a minority and they feel out of place and they need to join something, a lot of the movement behind that is we have to have resentment and hate towards the system, towards the man, towards anybody who doesn't stand right next to us. We have to hold resentment to them because they're here to pin us down. They're not here to help us. And that's not necessarily true. And just because somebody doesn't understand, I don't consider myself an advocate for much of anything except for peace, or at the very least communication. Let's be intelligent, we're adults, let's figure this shit out, and whatever issue that we have. So I'm not an advocate for one thing or another for the most part. Now I have my personal opinions just like anybody else does. I'm a Second Amendment hoe, straight up. But whenever it comes to it, it's the individual who needs to find, themselves and what makes them happy. So whenever you're an advocate for stuff like that, you're an advocate for acceptance, you're an advocate for unity, you're an advocate for trying to be educated and understand another person's way of thinking, and you're an advocate for loving your fellow man regardless of who or what or why your fellow man loves something else. Actually, I think that's a really hell of a way to sum it up. But the opposite side of that stick is if somebody doesn't accept what your demands, in some cases, may be. A lot of movements get very hostile and demand things from people. One of the biggest debates right now, I think it's preferred pronouns. Me personally, I will do what I can to make you happy. Um, I'm in a very professional type customer service industry, and I've learned over the years that there's a very special way to talk to people, and they all deserve to be talked that very special way because, and as humans, we all need the respect of knowing somebody else can hear where we're coming from, but we also have to be strong enough that we can carry on what we need to carry on through. Um, so kind of got off on a little bit of a ramble tangent there. Well, we'll get back into whatever direction we were starting to head. I have this little Cincy on my table that goes round and around, and it's got like little black bars, and it's holographic, and it looks like a nonstop freaking brain teaser. It's amazing. I love optical illusion stuff. So, give me a second. I gotta yawn. Whenever you're advocating for things of a positive suit, you can't be mad at people who don't understand. The best bet is education. The best bet is communication. The best bet is tolerance. Even if the opposing side doesn't agree with whatever it is you're talking about, you can't just hate them for it. You can't just demand that people change what they want about themselves. Oh, okay, yeah, that's where we left off. So one of the examples is preferred pronouns. So you can't change the fact that society doesn't see that as a normal thing. That's not going to be an immediate change. In a lot of different places, you see demands for it. I mean, demands that be a new part of how we communicate with people. And it's not likely that that's ever going to be. I don't feel, but if it is, you know, you need to have expectations. The vast majority is never going to really change from what societal's normals are. And if they do, it's going to take quite a bit of understanding and time. I mean, we are literally just now from 1776 talking about legalizing cannabis. So you have to understand we're an old world country with a new world mindset, and we're fighting in the middle of it. So whereas, people may be progressive to believe that there's somebody who, for whatever their reasoning be, whatever their feelings be, whatever their drive is, they want to change something about themselves and or their identity, then that's great that you want to do what makes you happy. That's the part of self-love. Don't do something just to be trendy, because there's certain things that you can't reverse, and that's kind of one of them. um if I go and get, for example, like a lip job, or I get my nose done or something, and I decide I hate it, I mean, that's it. That's a life choice. That's a modification that there's really no coming back from. So although I may temporarily feel one way, I don't feel that a permanent solution is always the solution that's best in something. Now, for the record, I don't have any plastic surgery. I spend all my money on tattoos, which is, actually kind of down the line with it too. You don't want to do something that at the end of it you're going to regret, because a lot of choices are forever, tattoos being a perfect one. I mean, as soon as you get tattoos down below the short sleeve part of your arm, you're an entirely different kind of person already, as the way society treats you. Actually, that's a fair comparison. I'm not going to say that I understand discrimination. We're not even going to get into it. There's stuff I understand as discrimination that you don't. There's plenty of discrimination you understand that I don't, and I think we're just fair to leave it that way. I've been in situations that's unfair for me, and you've been in situations that's unfair for you, and that's just how it goes. We all have our own race to run. Um, but yes, I'm not going to. I wish that people wouldn't look at me like I was a serial killer, rapist, murderer, clown freak whenever, they see me walking out of the bathroom, or as soon as I have a tank top on, that everybody just wants to look like they're scared, instead of, oh, well, there's a person that just likes to have something done for themselves, like, there's just, society makes all these assumptions, and instead of communicating, they're very close-minded to things. And they just always want to come up with these assumptions. Tattoos back in the day meant prison. It meant drugs, gangs, and back in the day when you were gay, it was weak, it was queer, it was different. So, I mean, it's like, we all are going to face different levels and variations of discrimination in different parts of our lives, but we can't just expect society to change and accept us. So what we have to do is learn to love ourselves in what it is that we feel comfortable in. We're all born with clear skin as far as, no tattoos, no chosen modifications, no stretched ears, no, aside from medical um abnormalities, we basically come out, um I'm gonna say like a potato. We got some spots and some impurities, but for the most part, we're just potatoes. We're potato people. We choose what we do outside of that, so it's a permanent choice by us. We're all the same, and the choices that we make and the decisions, that we may all branch off from doesn't mean we're not human still. It just means that we see things differently. Different things make us happy. Different things make us, see something in a way totally different than somebody else will. Me, for example, I like to do um, art, but only specific times. So for a lot of people, that's not it. They're a video game kind of person, or they're into sports or whatever the case is. We're all so different. That it's a beautiful thing. It really is. And anybody who thinks that they need to be just like you or you need to be just like them are a very toxic trait. And whenever we look at society, everybody that's just blindly followed has always led themselves over a cliff. And interestingly enough, they don't ever stop to look back to see what everybody else is doing. So when we have all these movements, all these hate movements, all these movements about, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. If you don't, you're a this or you're a that, or using scare tactics or threatening people, to get them to acknowledge something. That's what's the scariest out of all of it. Is people think that, since they don't have self-worth, they don't have that self-love, they don't have that identity to where they can be comfortable talking to people on a one-on-one level, like what I get to do with this. They don't want to do that. They want to go out and hide their identity and do these horrible, horrible atrocities to older people, to people who support a president they feel is a good choice for average Americans. Whatever angle they want to come out and say, people are being pinned as being white supremacists and being attacked. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and cry, oh, boo hoo, we're getting, labeled as this or that, because I really don't care personally. It takes a very special kind of person for their opinion to get to me. And that's taken a long time to get to the point to where I understand who I am and what I am and why I do what I do, and to build up my dilligaff to anybody else, and that's another part of the self-worth and self-love, and I'll get into that probably a little bit later on. um, but you have to always look out for fellow man around you, not just you. And just because they look different, just because they talk different, just because they believe different things, it doesn't mean you guys hate each other. It doesn't mean you have to hate each other. It just shows that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing by being an individual, not being part of just a machine that wants to swallow things around it. And that's what a lot of these movements are. I mean, I feel it's borderline terrorism. If you come up and you demand that people do and act and do a certain way, and if they don't, then you go and you try to get them fired or tarnish their reputation or slander them or whatever the case may be. That's not okay to do just because somebody won't see what you see. We have to, and I don't know, I don't have the proper answer for it. We have to come up with an open platform, and I feel that this is kind of one of those things. If I had somebody online with me, I would give them the chance to talk. And if I had a disagreement, or, if they were trying to feed, my listeners some bullshit, I would call them out on it. But I'm not going to sit there and manipulate how the conversation goes. I'm going to give a person a chance to say and feel what they would like, and then they're going to give me the same respect. And, I don't understand how we can't try to come up with a platform where that's an average thing. I don't want to see who can talk over who. I don't want to see who has the scariest looking dudes on their side. I don't want to see who, none of that matters to me. Your macho ness is not going to make me join. You being an attractive prospect like the brown shirts. Let's get back into the Nazi brown shirts because we're getting close to that, guys. And I mean, we honestly are. You admire a group because you have no purpose. You admire a group because, oh, look at them. They have such a big reach. They have such a motion. They're running around and asserting dominance on the weak around them, acting like real savages. I want to join that. That's exactly what the brown shirts were. That's exactly what the brown shirts were. Join us, join the movement. Let's move forward and get our political party into power. I mean, that's really, really what we're looking at. World War II, they were known as the stormtroopers. World War One stormtroopers, that's a whole different story. Those dudes were fairly badass. So let's get out of the war talk and let's get into the unity, because war is kind of the opposite of what we're doing. But it's ironic, I think, that when you beg and plead and say you want peace, but then you continue to drive wedges in between you and the opposite party. And that's the whole point. A minority is trying to tell the majority how to think. Meanwhile, the majority is not trying to tell the minority how to think. So do what makes you happy, man. But don't go trying to change laws in all 50 states just because of a way that you feel. Don't try to go change, the opinions of children. Don't go indoctrinating children with things that you feel is acceptable that other people may not feel is acceptable, because that's kind of sick in a way. Of course, depending on the situation, but everybody is a free-willed soul. They have the right to make their own choices, their own decisions, and you should water the seed and allow that to grow and flourish and prosper. Don't quit tying people down with the chains. And earlier when we were talking, about racism and about we're getting to a point to where, we're not going to be able to eat in the same restaurants. That may not just be a race thing, guys. That very well could be a political thing. But don't think for a second race has nothing to do with it, because we're continuing to allow it to have something to do with it. Humans are humans, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're brown, whether you're red, green, purple, blue, it doesn't matter. Whatever color you are, if you are a decent person and you are looking out for the benefit of the community and you are a contributing member of society, then I feel that you have a very strong place and your voice counts and your opinion counts. None of that shit matters your color. Man, I mean, if you don't like somebody, the whole people, because of how they look, you are stupid, because there is so much culture that comes from so many different people. It's wonderful. How many of you take it for granted that you can go eat a different kind of food every night? Say you wanted to. Say one night you wanted, Mexican, then we wanted Indian cuisine, then you wanted, good old burger. We want to go over to the old Deutschland and get us a burger. You know, all these different choices that you make comes from different people. So unless you're fucking, I don't, it doesn't, it just, nothing in your life that you could do could make you racist. Just your mindset. Like it's a mindset problem. Um, anyway, I'm getting hungry. We're not going to talk about food. The point being, ultimately, is don't use race to push your narrative, or don't push, demands on people just because you want to see action. If you have to make threats and demand people to see action, obviously you're not getting involved in something that you need to be involved with, that the community can get behind. So, in my opinion, you need to take a step back and really think about those things, because the community is going to follow you and want to flourish with you if it's something accurate. But you're terrifying people, because nobody wants to be called a Nazi while you're preaching unity. Nobody wants to sit here and pick up their own pieces while other people are flinging bombs at us. So my proposal, and of course I don't mean shit. I'm very happy for the listeners I do have, but it's nowhere compared to somebody that can have an actual inspirational reach to somebody, who in power that can make it happen. But we have to at least give each other a shot ultimately. I don't understand a lot of stuff, but I feel the way that I have a mindset on it is a mindset that more people need to have. Let's just try to figure it out. And then if it doesn't work for me, then don't force it on me. And then if what I have doesn't work for you, I'm not going to force it on you. I'm not going to try to turn you straight. You're not going to try to turn me whatever. And we can both harmoniously live in our own lanes and not have to oppose each other or shoot the other one down. Now, why we don't have that mindset, I don't understand. But we're all here for each other, man. We're all Homo sapiens. We're all humans. And if we don't look out for each other, if we as humans, as strong, don't take care of the weak, then we are a shit genetic biome.
ChrisDaGoat desperately needed a pee break, so we are gonna give it to him. And before we know it, that Capricorn hippie banjo loving hillbilly will be coming back at ya. Stay tuned. We're back.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is ChrisDaGoat. As always, the host with the most toast at the Goat Man Show. So we're going to finish up this episode today on this last segment. Recap a little bit about what we're talking about. And, I like to go on little tangents on accident because I'm special. So I like to make sure that all my points are thoroughly made to come across. I don't know if you realize, but talking for 20 minutes while staring at your dog is not exactly the easiest thing to do because sometimes he'll wink and start rolling around or playing, and I love the little dude, so that's where my attention goes when I'm sitting in here. I know you're staring at me now. You can probably hear the tail. Oh, he's a good puppy. So, unity, self-love. Nobody else is ever going to make you happy. If you were an unhappy person, you have to find the root of that unhappiness. And generally, it's a mental illness or some kind of chemical deficiency, some issue in the brain that doesn't allow normal emotions to take over and makes things very difficult. Um, I had to swallow pride and go to a doctor after my mom had died suddenly, and got on depression and anxiety medicine, and it didn't always help at first, and I could not figure out why. There was just little value in life, little excitement, little to look forward to, little inspiration after, And then before that, a year before that, it was my grandpa, and both of them were very influential people in my life. And, it's hard. It's hard to deal with, but I think at that point, it helped me to realize that although my mom was my biggest fan and a huge supporter, um, there's going to be a time in life to where you have to think about the unthinkable, which is what do you do when that support goes away? How do you cope whenever you do lose a loved one or somebody that's very meaningful to you? And kind of like what I've touched on before, experience is a huge thing. You can't just explain to somebody how you're going to feel. You have to understand that the world's a shitty place and you have to prepare for that. So, the world's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, and there's not always an easy solution. There will be a day where you wake up and your life will change for better or for worse, and you're going to have to find another way to cope with it. And I have addiction issues anyway, specifically narcotics and pills and hydros and Flexeril and all that fun stuff. So when I do take medicine, I have to be careful because I don't want anything that's going to make that part of my brain kick up again. Because as soon as I start enjoying something, I can very easily go into excess. And then you start not learning how to process things properly. And you start losing sight of things that matter and shrugging off responsibilities and just kind of separating yourself from reality. And it's because people, I think, is a majority now, and it's something I had to learn. You have to learn to love yourself. And it's so hard to do because everywhere you look, there's going to be people with a negative outlook. They're going to say that you're worthless or you're fat or you're nerdy or, people are just shit. People are just hateful, and I'm just as guilty. There's been times in my past that I've bullied people, and I'm ashamed to say that I am, but there's also times to where I've told people what they need to hear because they're so fucking entitled that nobody's ever told them no. So, not everything's a benefit. And sometimes when you try to do good, you're not doing good. And then other times you may misinterpret what somebody's saying. The whole point, regardless, all this coming into is you have to love yourself because there's no guarantee anybody else is going to. And there may be a time in your life when all your family's dead and gone, or you get attacked by a group or a media and your reputation goes to shit. There could be all kinds of different things that happens where you're alone and you have to fight this world. And I personally think it's easiest to work on yourself and find who you are, what you believe in, not what makes you feel like you're part of a group or that you're accepted. See, that's what I feel, when we get into Antifa and a lot of these current groups that we're dealing with in the United States, uh, that are coming up and protesting the right and Trump and everything else. Of course, without the politics, um, They are very hateful, shitty people who are doing very hateful, shitty things in cities and to innocent business owners, innocent buildings, innocent territories, and all in the name of unity and in the name of acceptance. But they will not accept somebody else's views. And the hypocrisy in that is just, it just blows me away. I mean, it's awe inspiring. It's crazy. How can you sit there and tell me that we need to work together? But if I have an opinion that's different and intelligently um, put together, how are we not going to have a discussion? You're just going to slam me down and scream and yell and just go on with these assumptions. Well, that's a very hypocritical situation, and hypocrisy solves nothing. If you're asking for peace and you're asking for respect, give it. You may not agree with everything that we're going to say or somebody may say, and you don't have to. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to respect it. But it's going to do so much more for your movement if you shut up long enough to listen to what everybody has to say. And one thing to stay away from is the media, because the media already tells you what's happening. They don't present facts anymore. They present opinions. They present rejection to what we understand as truth. And brown shirts, brown shirts, brown shirts. That's Nazi propaganda. And don't think for a second that we're not using it. The Nazis were actively working in the 1960s and the 1970s in different countries on different programs and secret projects. I mean, it's all been out and exposed now, but yeah, there's a lot of Nazis that escaped the Nuremberg trials and still lived out lavish lives in the time and went on about their business. But still, what they stood for was hate, and they would put false narratives out, and they would say, "Oh, and of course it was the Jews at the time. It was a religion thing or a bloodline thing. It was a human trait issue. There's I don't want to put it in a bubble, but they just hated people based off of them being people, which we're kind of in the middle of now, and it's not even really racism because it had nothing to do with the fact that they were Jews. It's just that Hitler had the preconceived notation and pounded it into the heads of everybody else that the Jews were the reason why the stock market crashed. The Jews were the reason why the war was lost. The Jews were the reason why Germany was no longer great and prosperous but suffering. The Jews were the reason why nothing could get done in a progressive manner. Now, listening to those four examples, if you replace that with from Jews to Republicans, for example, just an example, it's terrifying how close we are right here and now as I am recording this, how close we are to reopening so much racial division or political division or any division of any sort, all because you want to hate somebody because of what you're assuming is fact. We don't know each other. I don't know you, and you don't know me. But we have to make an open platform to where we can try to. And there's going to be stuff that I'm not even going to, as a human, I'm not even going to acknowledge as a possibility. One of the biggest things is pedophilia being a sexual orientation. I could probably stomach a little of you trying to explain it, but then yes, I can understand where you're at. There is going to be a point to something that I'm so set on. It's going to be extremely hard for me to have a closed mouth while I listen. Now, you're never, and I swear to God on this right here now, you are never going to convince me that hurting a child is okay, regardless. You will not. And I hope that you burn in hell inside out if you ever hurt a child for your own sexual gratification, because it's fucking wrong. But you do have those kinds of people and those kinds of situations to where it hurts you and troubles you so much that it's very hard to listen to the other side. So I feel I can sympathize to an extent, but I don't feel just in this situation the comparison I gave pedophilia versus all whites are racist or even a fair comparison whatsoever. So there's certain ideas I feel are just ignorant and they're media created and inspired. All the mainstream media, they keep saying that there's no proof of fraud. There's no proof of this. There's no proof of bullshit. We have seen it. We have seen it with our own eyes, but they think that we're so stupid they can piss on our heads and tell us it's a rainstorm. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And the only way that's going to change is if the media stops being so biased. Now, people aren't going to stop listening to it. People aren't going to turn off the TV and do research because, God forbid, you actually, look up any kind of declassified military documents or actually listen to the words of somebody that was involved in a situation to know what happened. God forbid you actually do that research. You're just going to trust the news because it came on and, oh, everybody's saying the same thing, pushing the same narrative. It's got to be true. I mean, it's got to be. The problem is it's not. And the media, just like when I got into the brown shirts talking about what Hitler had on the campaign against the Jews, we're facing that right now. We are facing the very real possibility that the media has so much control. People don't second guess them. People listen to everything that they're saying. And if you look back in the early 40s, late 30s, whenever the brown shirts were in Berlin streets doing what they do, which again, I had a whole episode 1. Actually, I covered a lot of that, and I'll probably actually do another episode just on them fully because a lot of people that are curious about them don't really understand how close that we are. I mean, it's terrifying how close we are. All in the name of unity, and that's the part I don't understand. How can you preach wrongdoings to another person and then in the same ticket say, I'm being discriminated against, I'm being hated, nobody cares about me, and then just immediately start attacking and getting hostile towards a group that may have a different view? That's what we're conditioned to do, guys. We're conditioned to hate. We're conditioned to be left and right, red and blue, up and down, side by side. We're not encouraged to be in this together. But God forbid, man, up before COVID, we were doing good. I mean, we still have a lot of ways to go. We absolutely, America is definitely a country that has a lot of answering to do for the past, and I don't, reject that, nor do I think anybody else does. But I do feel that we all have the responsibility, the ability, and the obligation to take the media out of the equation and try to find a way where we can, as we the people, as Americans, average. I work 9 to 5. I pay my taxes. I vote. I try to take care of my family and community. If we all got together and we all just talked, no hostility, no threats, no weapons, no any of this just crazy hostility that's going around. If we could take it back and tone it back, then I think we could see so much clearer. But everybody wants to follow the media's lead on everything, which is hurry up. We got to hurry up. We got to hurry up and fight. We got to hurry up and separate. We have to hurry up and do this. We have to hurry up and do that. Nobody wants to just do what they have to do and slow down and quiet down and look at themselves in the mirror and say, is what I'm doing okay, or is it hypocritical? But they don't care. And it all goes, and I know it's going to be hard to see, but the whole issue with this goes to unity and self-love. If you love yourself and you are happy with yourself, and I'm not talking, oh, I have a few pounds I'd like to lose, or oh, whatever, oh, my forehead's too big, or I wish I had a new nose. Oh, shut the fuck up. You got what you got. Look at it like this. You have a soul, a heart, a celestial incorporation of energy and plasma, and I like to consider every person like a universe. They're their own way. I mean, we're all the same thing. We're all matter, but each one of us looks and acts and feels and thinks completely different. It's beautiful. But the problem gets to where people have no confidence and they start listening to the negativity. And then they come across a group that says, I accept you. You're different. Come join us. We hate the people that oppress us. We're going to get them. We're going to get them back. We hate the people that make us feel like we're nothing. We hate the people that are the majority. We hate straight people. We hate whatever. And, that's not breeding your whole message with hate isn't a message. And if you have to threaten somebody to get your point across, obviously you're not doing something right. And I really don't know of a nicer way to put that. It's the people who feel abandoned or feel like they've been personally hurt by the system or feel they don't have anything going for themselves, that they continue to go and find these groups, these hates, these angers, these assumptions, these bigots, and they're doing exactly what they're accusing other people of doing. I'm not saying Trump supporters are perfect at all. And to me, it's not even a political thing. I mean, I've gotten more political on this podcast than I think I've ever been in my whole life. But it's because I can see exactly what's going on, and I'm not so close-minded that I don't see, the wool's not over my eyes. I know what the problems in society are. Most people that listen to this are going to know what the problems in society are. Average free thinking Americans understand what the problems in society are and is, and that's ourselves listening to false narratives, believing it, and not researching. Because you want to believe that some blue check mark knows what they're talking about when they come out and say something. Or, oh, my favorite rap star on Twitter or Instagram said something, so that's what I'm going to follow. You got to pull away from the reality and the fantasy land. And the reality is we're all here together. We have to walk on the same streets. We have to share the same schools, the same buildings, work, the same food at the stores. We all are a community. And communities within communities, we have to look out for our communities. I've seen hell on earth and I've seen heaven on earth. The Joplin, Missouri tornado. That'll be an episode in the future. It was on May 22nd, 2011, 5:40 p.m. Never going to forget the details of it. I have seen and pulled out bodies from destroyed rubble. Our subdivision where I'm at had two semi trailers that were refrigerated full of body parts that were unidentified at the time. The scale of loss and destruction and uncertainty helps me understand how fragile life is and helps me see what is important. And it's not what's in your house. It's not your house. It's not your car, because there was thousands of us within 10, 15 minutes. Thousands of us lost everything. And on the same side of that, seeing hell that day, I also got to see heaven, because this community pulled together and helped one another and comforted one another. Race didn't matter, color didn't matter, gender, whatever. Man, nobody cared, because they saw that the people were hurting. They saw the destruction in our home. And people that may have lived a quarter mile away that still had their house opened up their house to people who had lost theirs, guys. I have seen it firsthand. Humanity is real. And it's a fucking beautiful thing whenever this world is so shit. It is gorgeous. There is nothing like humans working together as we're supposed to be. Because if you're religious or not, say we all got to go somewhere when we die. We all have to live in harmony. So why are we causing wars and discriminations and racial precedents now? Why aren't we moving for a all-inclusive world? Well, it gets into what we talked a little bit about earlier. You can't force it on anybody because this society is shit. But for those who don't listen and continue to lead with hate, if you ignore them and you have enough confidence in yourself that you know you're not the things they're saying, you know that you're not, whatever it is that they're trying to make you feel, you're going to be so much happier. I've had so many people on Twitter already, and my Twitter account's new. I'm honestly trying to piss off a few high profile people so I get some free advertisement. But I have made so many people delete their shit because they want to come and just start off just trying to pick fights for no reason. Now, I ain't going to take shit sitting down. I'm a man and I'm going to defend myself, but I try not to go out and pick battles. I don't have a problem with feminists. I don't have a problem with transgenders. I don't have a problem with left, right, up, down, blue, red. It don't matter to me. Like I said, I judge you on your person, not what you look like, smell like, not what you prefer to wear, not what, nothing. I don't care. If you're a good person, then I'm going to love you. If you're a bad person, chances are I'm going to have a hard time to accept you. But that's a lot more open-minded than a lot of people who, oh, you're white, so you are my enemy, or oh, you're black, so you're my enemy. There's so much closed-minded racism. The moral of the story, guys, and this is God's honest truth, coming from a person that's seen it. I'm sure there's people that have suffered a lot less, and I know there's people that have suffered a lot more, so I'm not putting myself in any precedents, but I have seen a community come together when all of our lives at the time were over, how it seemed. I've seen it, and I know we can do it on a bigger scale, but people are going to have to stop with the toxic thinking. You're going to have to stop listening to the media. You're going to have to stop trying to follow lemurs going over the edge because you decide that you want to join something to feel more important about yourself. Find that importance. Dig and find, soul search. Who are you? Where did you come from? What is it you do for the world? You got to fix all these things, man. Until you do, we're going to continue to be in the situation that we're in. So you have to love yourself because nobody else is going to do it for you. And only when you love yourself can we start to say, I can see that you're hurt. I can hear that you're hurt, and I'm here for you. And I want to try to help you, but you have to act civilized. Give me the respect of being a human so I can give you the respect of being a human. If you're going to call me a white supremacist and a bigot and a this and a that and the other, and then turn around and say, oh, I don't understand why we're not able to communicate. That's just hypocrisy. So either hate me or love me, but don't try to confuse it. Don't demand anything because I'm not demanding anything. None of us are. We're all trying to figure out this fucking world together, guys. We have to work together. No demands, no terrorism, no changing the reality. I mean, you're wanting to add so much to the plate of everybody that we can't function as a society right now. How are we going to add new politics to it? I don't feel we can. All right, guys, enough rambling for tonight. Thank you so much for listening. The end game of this, I want it to be inspirational and uplifting. Find yourself, be happy, and we can unify, and we will unify. It's just we have to do it differently than what we have before, or we are going to face hard times harder than what we have before, and I don't think there's too many people that are going to disagree with that because we're very close. Much love and respect, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening. We're going to check you guys out the next time in a couple of days. This has been the Unity and Self-Love. Remember, not everybody's going to love you, but you always need to love yourself, or depression will sneak up. It's a hard bitch to get rid of. I've dealt with it for years. Just now starting to get to where things are more positive. So I encourage you guys to go and find what makes you happy for yourself and do it. Love and respect. Goat Man is going bleh.
That's all, folks. Thanks for listening to The Goat Man Show with ChrisDaGoat. Subscribe and leave a review if you'd be so inclined. Until next time. ChrisDaGoat, he has a podcast, yeah. ChrisDaGoat, it's called The Goat Man Show. He's a Capricorn hippie, banjo-loving hillbilly. He lives in Missouri. It's The Goat Man Show, yeah.